Hey, welcome back to the Wolf Den, everyone. So today I wanted to follow up on our debut Stratocaster unboxing and now setup. So I'm going to go through a couple things. I haven't done any more setup since the last video. So this is how it came out of the box. The only thing I did to it was tuned it up. Now that I've tuned it up, we can tell there's a few concerns. It's a little scratchy on the frets. We will take care of that. We'll polish that out. The fret ends are extremely sharp. The strings have a little bit of corrosion on them. We're going to put new strings on it. Any setup, I tend to put new strings on it. The action, totally playable, tiny bit high. Once we put the new strings on though, we're going to see that the tension on the truss rod, which adjusts the neck bow either up or down, when we put lighter gauge strings on, it's actually going to let it settle back out a little bit. So I'm going to be swapping the standard strings out for some Ernie Ball extra slinky 8s. The reason I'm going with the 8s is because this is going to be Lil Wolf's guitar, and her smaller hands, they'll be a little bit easier for her to manipulate the strings, fret the notes, and bend and things like that. Normally on a Stratocaster, this is a 25.5 inch scale. I tend to use 9s, sets of 9s, or even sometimes 10s on these. And then on my Les Pauls or anything that has a 24.75 inch scale, I'll use 10s, sometimes 11s. The reason, as the scale length shortens, the tension needed to get the right pitch is slackened, right? You don't need as much tension. So the greater the distance, the more tension you need. So thicker strings tend to work a little bit better on the longer scale, but it really depends on what you want to feel. There's nothing wrong with using light gauge strings. There are a lot of players that use light gauge strings, a lot of legendary players that use light gauge strings. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to put 8s on here. I'm going to clean up all the frets, and then I'll adjust the nut. I'll adjust the tension. I'll adjust the nut. I'll do a little bit of adjustment for the action, and really that's going to be about it. So I'll take you through that step by step, because I want to get these old strings off. So all I need to do is loosen them up. So I have a little string cutter and tool that allows me to quickly loosen these strings. Now once I kind of loosen them up a few times, I'm just going to cut them off. Be a whole lot easier. Okay, so they're nice and loose. You can take them and just cut them all. Okay, now I'll take my strings, set those aside for now. Now, if you recall from my last video, I did talk about some of these tuners being really loose. Now, as you get less expensive guitars, these tuners, they'll have a little play in them, but these are actually loose at the nut. Like I can just take them off by hand. I can loosen these nuts. So we're gonna tighten those back up as well. So we'll take care of that. So to get these strings out, you just push them out, and they come out through the slot in the back of your plate, your cover. Okay, so I've got all the strings off. Now this is a Music Nomad tool. It's got different sizes for all of your components. I found this a while back. I think it was like 13 bucks. It's got screwdrivers. It's got all the different hex bits. So in this case, this is 10 millimeter, which is what we use for the tuners. So I'm just going to go and tighten all those tuners up. Again, I don't see any reason yet to change any components here. For regular maintenance, you're going to absolutely be changing your strings out. And this is what you'll do. Okay, you'll look everything over. You'll see if your fretboard needs any oil or needs cleaning. If it's a rosewood type, laurel, or anything like that, this darker wood, it's going to need some oil. You can see that right off the bat. If it's a maple cap, then you don't necessarily need to apply any oil. I'm going to end up taking the neck off to make this just a little bit easier. You can do all these things with the neck on. I'm going to show you I'm going to use a flat file here. And this is just a cheap miniature file, you know, from Harbor Freight or something like that. And I've smoothed down one side. That way, when I go to clean up these edges, I'm not actually filing down into the wood. I'm just filing the corner and the edge of the fret. So you can do this with everything on there, or with the neck still in place, that's fine. I'm going to also use steel wool and some sandpaper and things like that to clean these up and polish these, just like that. Okay. I don't want all that to get you can already see it getting on my pickups. You can tape all this off, you can cover it, you can put plastic over it, and that'll stop it from attaching to your magnets, because your pickups are just big magnets. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to take that neck off. So I would use a soft surface. This is essentially a yoga mat, really. And these screws are just screwed down into the neck. We're going to be able to take a look and see exactly how well this is made. The neck plate gives these screws something to really put pressure against, and a nice flat surface to keep tension on the neck at all times, or on the body. Spread out that strain. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. So that came off pretty easily. You can see there's a lot of shavings in there. It's always going to, most guitars are going to be relatively unfinished, but what you are looking for is just a relatively clean surface. This is okay. It's not great. Okay. You can expect it not to be that well put together or that well machined. Okay. The holes, a lot of times on less expensive guitars, you know, this one included, the holes may not be very cleanly drilled, and this plate should really come off of here a lot easier. But you can see it was quickly assembled. There's some finish that came off with that because they didn't let it fully cure before they assembled it. So I'm just getting some of those wood shavings out of there. Okay, you can see all that. Okay, now I'm actually going to just set the body aside. So I've got that, it's a carpeted floor there, and I'm just going to take a look at the neck here. There's a lot of shavings coming out of the neck. That's fine. It's not super clean. That's okay. just going to smooth that over these holes a little bit. Again, not a problem. To save money and cost on cheaper guitars, you're going to have some manufacturing issues like that. That's to be expected. For $120, it's to be expected. Okay. Now, again, you'll still hear these rattle around. There's nothing wrong with them. They are a relatively loose fit. The actual post, you want to make sure the nut is tight. Okay. So all I'm doing is I'll tend to, when I go to string this up, I'm going to have all of these holes lined up this way. So I'm just kind of presetting them right now when I go to do that. Okay, so now let me start to work on these fret ends. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've got the smooth side that's facing the fretboard, and all I'm going to do is just take that and just kind of gently guide it around the end of the fret. I'm going to do that to each one. Now you can absolutely tape off, use some masking tape and tape off every fret if you want. So you'll lay it across the actual fingerboard and cover up all these areas. I'm not gonna end up doing that. Maybe if I had $1,000, using the smooth side of that. And again, I smoothed that out. I used another file, some sandpaper, and really smoothed that down. So I can go across here and not really worry about actually cutting into the wood. You also notice I'm rounding over as I'm doing that. So I'm kind of rounding over and around like that. Kind of all in one motion. It's like an arching motion. The reason I'm doing that is because this little tiny edge right here is what kind of catches. So I'm taking care of that by coming this way. And then also where these are cut at an angle, it leaves kind of a sharp edge up on top. So I'm actually just kind of rounding that off as well. All at the same time. I'll go back through with sandpaper. Now if you have a fretboard that has a down edge, so some of the my right back here, Les Pauls, not all Les Pauls, the Les Paul standards and things like that. You have Les Paul standards, you have a down fretboard, you notice it has a white edge, or off-white ivory edge. That's a down fretboard. In order to do that, these frets don't have wires that stay down the side, even on top. So you may have to build a trim. It tends to be a little smoother on down fretboard. Okay. Now I've done one side, and I'll just kind of run over, make sure that I didn't miss any. Okay, I'm going to end up coming through and just kind of coming along this edge as well to make sure that I knock down any of the sprouting that might happen where it's pressed in. Okay, I'll always use my sand block, and I'll just kind of come around like this, back and forth. It rounds that fretboard just a little bit too, makes it more comfortable. This is a pretty rounded fretboard, to be honest. It's not bad. It's not bad. But the fretwork definitely needs some attention. Now, we've finished getting all of the ends done. We're not finished. It's not perfect yet. It's not where we want it to be. So next, I will take this is a straight block with different grits of sandpaper. Now normally this would be used to level the fretboard, but to be honest, I didn't see any issues. And normally as I play down the fretboard, each string, I look for any like significant buzzing. If it is, that's when I'll go ahead and take the extra step of leveling the fretboard. If I don't have that, then I'm not going to be spending that time and effort re-leveling. Re-leveling means straightening the truss rod and the fretboard, leveling all of the frets down with the block, and then re-crowning each one of them. I'm not going to do all that, but what I will do is I'll take this and I'll run down the side here at a little angle. Just like that. Okay, and that was the 400 side. I'll just kind of hit it with the 600. Just like that. Okay. Okay, so now that I'm back, I just ran that up and down the sides just to make sure that we're all kind of straight, even, things like that. Now, there's a couple more things that I want to do. Number one, I want to take some Scotch-Brite or some steel wool. This is the 000, the 40 steel wool. And I'm just going to go all over these frets. Now, again, you can cover each fret, so the fretboard area, with tape. You can use these little guards like this and go over top. I'm not too concerned with that. I'm going to oil this fretboard and clean it up. So I'm actually just going to go up and down all over these frets with the steel wool. Just kind of giving it a full clean. All the edges, everything. Now the reason I did this with it off, because all of this is covered. Okay, so I didn't want to get that all over the guitar, the body, and in the pickups and everything. Okay, now there's a couple other things that I normally do. I use some sandpaper. Now in this case here, I have a kit that's called Micro Mesh. This goes all the way up to 6,000. You really do not need to go up to 6,000, and you could even use up to maybe 500-600, 1,000 grit, something like that. But I can just kind of run this up and down. That really gives me a nice, polished, smooth, rounded kind of fretboard fret feeling. And then I might even just lightly go across my frets. I'm not trying to sand them down. Okay? I'm just really cleaning them up, smoothing them out. That feels a million times better. Okay? It really, really does. Really nice. Now again, you can, if you want, keep going. In this case, this is 1,500. 1,000's fine. I have refinished frets, crowned them, leveled them, crowned them, and hit them all the way up to this 6,000, and then polish, and they just come to a mirror finish. Okay, I'm not overly concerned with that today. I just want to smooth them up a little bit. I want to make sure, number one, nobody's going to cut their fingers. Okay, that's number one. I don't want anybody cutting their fingers. You can also take some sandpaper. I'll take 250, 600, and I'll go 250, and I'll just kind of round it out like this. And I'll just, with my finger, I'll just kind of run it up and down. Okay, I can't find my sandpaper right now. I'm not going to stress about it. Okay, so now once I've done that, I'm going to wipe this down. I'm just going to take some paper towels. I'm going to wipe the bulk of it down. Okay. Good. Now, before I do anything else, one more thing I really like to do. I'm going to show you this. You don't have to do it. You don't have to get it. You don't have to use this stuff. But I use this Music Nomad Frine fret polishing kit. Again, nothing in here is sponsored. It's just truly what I use. I've had it for a while. It lasts forever. I have polished every fretboard I've come across, and I just keep using the same kit. So you've got a couple covers here, right? So this will help protect your fretboard. Just pick what fits best. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just pick one that fits best for your fret wire. Okay. I put a little polish on the cloth. I wipe it on. Go to the next one. Wipe it on. I go down the line. All right. Then I'm going to come back through with my cloth and really polish it. You can go and use a Dremel tool. So I have one over here. I might show you that as well. I don't always use that. If you do, I might suggest that, I want to use the bigger one here. I might suggest that you tape off your fretboard. When you use a Dremel and a polishing wheel, buffing compound, and things like that, you will generate more heat. And if you do that across your fretboard, you might affect the wood. You might actually buff down the wood, the finish, things like that. All of these inlays are essentially plastic inlays. If you put too much heat on them, you can damage them. So we don't want to do that. All right, so I'm putting some good pressure, pressing down, polishing these out individually, all the way across and to the ends. Okay. That's really it. I go back through and just kind of go back and forth and just clean off some of that polish if it's still there, which it is. That's it. That's all I ever do to clean up and polish my frets. Again, I've been using this kit for 6 to 8 years, maybe. I don't know. I've been through 30 or more of my own guitars over the years, and others. You know, people bring me some guitars to work on and help them out with. Same kit. So pretty decent investment. Next, again, I'm gonna keep saying Music Nomad. Most of the stuff is Music Nomad. It's affordable. You can get it at Guitar Center. You can get it on Amazon. This is F1 oil. I'm gonna put that on pretty liberally. Okay. Then I'm just gonna take a paper towel. I'm gonna make sure I get it all over the fretboard. Around the sides as well. Now, this one's not too dry, but it is soaking up some oil. That's to be expected. Okay, this stuff will help clean and treat the wood. Okay, so again, I just kind of keep going back and forth. Take a clean side. This is my first pass. Okay, I will do this at least twice. Okay, take that, get rid of that, and then we'll do it again. That's kind of like, for me, that's the cleaning phase. That little bit of oil, it's helping me clean off the fretboard. Okay, I'm gonna do it all over again. Again, that oil has lasted me a long time too. If you invest in it, it's probably gonna last you forever. Okay, just take care of it, it takes care of you, and we're all good. So I'll go again up and down. Make sure I'm getting it all over the fretboard. Now, after that first pass, that's kind of cleaned it. This is really letting the oil get in there. You see it looks great. I mean, it's shiny, it's dark. That's what we want to see. Now at this point, this is when I'm going to let it sit for a minute. I haven't gotten a dry part of the cloth yet. I really want to make sure this gets everywhere. And I'm letting it soak in. So I'm just going to let that soak in. I'm going to clean up a few things and then I'm going to come back to it. Okay? See you in a minute. Okay, so we're back. I've let this sit for just a couple minutes and I just cleaned up my table a little bit here. So what I'm going to do now, again, just like I did before, I'm just going to go across with one area of the paper towel. And then just get another clean dry side. Start from the bottom up this time, and I just kind of go back and forth. So I'm letting my fingers get in between the frets, the fret wires each time. So I'm getting, you know, cleaner and cleaner, drier and drier each time. Okay, I think that's good. We have no more sharp ends at all. We actually have some pretty nice rounded ends. Really smooth, really clean, smooth fret wires. Okay, so now we should have, you know, minimal noise on the strings as we play. We won't get any cut fingers, things like that. So the next step, we'll put this neck back on, and then we'll continue our setup. Okay, now I've got my guitar body back up here. Now keep in mind, again, you don't need to do all of these things that I'm doing. You don't have to take apart your guitar. For a basic setup, I would absolutely recommend changing your strings. These strings are going to be a little rusty. They've been traveling overseas. You know, they put them on at the manufacturer site, which is in China. They ship it over, then it sits in a warehouse. It's put on a truck. They're going to get a little rusty. They're not always going to be playable. You have to expect that. So expect to change your strings. I would either get a fret end file or make one like I did. Clean those up, polish your frets. All that can be done with the body and the neck together. I like to take it off. To me, it's a little bit easier, and I really wanted to see how well it was all put together, to be honest. That's my reasoning. Okay, so now I've got my neck plate back over there. I've got my screws. Where did I put them? Here we go. So I've got my screws here. I've got my neck plate. Now as you go to put your screws back in, with a lot of these types of guitars, they're not going to just push straight through the body. They should. The body holes should match the screw, and then the neck should be threaded. It's not going to be the case. You have to kind of understand that. But what you want to do is once you get down to the neck, you want to make sure you turn the screw just like you're taking it out. Put a little pressure, turn the screw as it's just like you were taking it out, and then wait for it to fall into place. Okay? You notice it's going to kind of lift up a little bit, and then it'll drop in. That's lining up the threads of your screw with the threads that are cut into the wood from the threads of the screw. That's the best way to make sure that you don't strip out your neck. So I've got that down. So I'm at the neck. Put a little pressure. I'm going to turn it backwards. And it drops into place. That's where I want to be. I'm not going to tighten these up. I'm going to leave them pretty darn loose for right now. I want to get all my screws started. Okay, so here we are. I'm down. Okay, I'm at the neck. There we go. So I'm lining the screw up with the threads that are already cut. That's important. If you just run that screw in there, you can cut new threads. And if you keep cutting new threads, eventually you're going to strip out those holes. Okay? And that's just another repair. It's repairable, but you don't want to have to do that repair if you don't absolutely have to. Okay. All right, so I'm going to snug these all up. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. So far, I've tightened up. All of our tuners. Taken the neck off, and I've really cleaned up the edges, and I've cleaned up the fretboard. I've left all the plastic on because that's not my job to take the plastic off. That's someone else's job, and I'm going to let her do that. The next thing I want to do is I want to restring it. Once I restring it, that's when I'm going to check the tension on the neck. I'm going to check the nut slots, see if I have to go any deeper there, which I think I have to just kind of touch them a little bit, and then adjust my what we call action here at the saddles, which will bring the strings lower on this side. So adjusting the nut will get us closer to the first fret. We don't have to make this adjustment on this guitar. It looked pretty good. I took a look at it when I unboxed it. It looks okay, but we'll take a look at it and just make sure. Okay. So I got a new set of strings, Ernie Ball. Like I said in the beginning, these I'm going to put on because I'm going to give them to her. Her hands are a little smaller. These will be easier to press, move, bend, all kinds of stuff. So these are an 8. So 8 to 38. So when you look at strings, that's what you're looking at, 8 to 38. That's telling you what the high E and the low E string is. So 38 is the gauge of my low E, so the bass string. So I'll take that out of the package. I just kind of unthread it a little bit. Okay. I'm going to take this cut end, and I'm going to go up through the bottom of the guitar, through that same slot, and I'm going to just pull it up through. Okay. Once I pull it up through here, remember I aligned the hole here to be going in line like this. So I'm just going to pull it up. Now I'm going to show you how I wrap my strings. Okay. I put a little tension. I hold it right behind the tuning peg here. I grab it at 1 fret. I go 2 frets, and I have all this slack. I take that slack and I loop it around over top of that string I put through, just like that, and then I pull up on that cut end. Now what's going to happen is, as I go to tighten this up, I'm going to actually go underneath of it now. So going over and then underneath is going to lock that in, and it's not going to slip on me. Okay, so I'm just going to keep a little tension. Okay, and I'm going to leave it at that. And in that case there, you know, for the low E, you don't actually have to go that far. So I went a little farther than I kind of normally would, just to give you a general way to do it, right? If you go 2 frets. Now, what I also like to do is I like to go to my high E string. You don't have to do this. Okay, it's just something I've always done. This actually stems back from when I'm changing strings on my Les Pauls and certain bridges. You want to actually have equal tension on both sides. There we go. There we go. With this guitar, we don't necessarily have to worry about that too much. Okay. So when you are pulling your string through, do make sure that it's in the saddle, okay? That it is actually on the saddle, right? So now same thing, I'm gonna pull some extra string, loop it over, and then I'm gonna bring the rest of the excess, I'm gonna bend it upward because I don't want it to go anywhere, okay? Then I'm gonna start winding. This is actually going to pinch that string. Now, once we get all these on, it's the same process across all of my strings. Once I get them all on, that's when I'm going to go through and I'm going to tune it up, stretch the strings, and then tune it again. So okay, now that we got all the strings on, time to start tuning. Okay, so we've got the initial tuning done. What we'll need to do, we're going to check a couple other things, but we need to stretch the strings, okay? What ends up happening is these new strings, they need to seat properly on the tuning pegs. They themselves will actually stretch. And what happens is as we start to play, they're going to constantly stretch themselves out. So we're going to pre-stretch them a little bit. So I'm just going to grab that string. I'm going to kind of get my fingers underneath. I push down with my thumb. And just kind of rock up and down. You can literally just pull on them. And I'm going to do that to each one of these. Now your bottom three strings, which are your 4, 5, and 6, the bassier strings, these right here, they are going to be, they're going to have a little bit more stretch generally than your thinner, solid strings, the top 3 strings, as you say. So 1, 2, and 3. We're going to get to know all the names of the strings, all the notes as we go. But right now, know that we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, high string to low string. So this is our number 1 string, our high E, and we go to our number 6 low E. Now when you're tuning, I always tune in this position, okay? Your playing position. Okay, so bottom, low E to high E, E, A, D, G, B, E. Okay, so that's what we're tuning to. That's standard tuning. E standard tuning. Okay, some songs might be in like E flat tuning, things like that. We're sticking to standard. Okay, so E standard. E, A, D, G, B, E. All right, now, a couple things that I'm going to look for now is the truss rod adjustment. And to do that, I'll hold the first fret. And I'll hold the fret right here where it meets the body. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, somewhere around there. I'll press that down with like my pinky. And I'll tap on the 8th fret. I'm not getting anything, which means I have too much tension on my neck. I need to actually loosen it up. This is because I just went down with a lower gauge string. It's not pulling on the neck as much. So in order to do that, I'll use the tool that they gave me, this Allen key. I'll go in through the top of the neck, in through the headstock here, find my position right there, and I'm going to turn away from me to loosen it up. And I'm going to go in about a 1/4 turn at a time. Or an 1/8 of a turn, really. Okay. Get this string out of the way. Okay. Now, every time I do that, I'm going to have to check my tuning. Okay, and then I'll check it, starting to get a little tap there. I want a little bit of a gap there. Should be maybe about your high E, 8/1000 or so, depending on what you like. When I tap, I just want it to give a little bit. I want to be able to tap against the fret and have a little bit of give there. That's what I'm looking for normally. So I'm going to loosen it up a little bit more. Now as I make these adjustments and I loosen it, it's going to come up. My tuning should go a little flat. Okay, that's to be expected. So that's why I retune it each time. Then I'll hold the first fret. I'll hold right at the body. Okay, getting better. I'm going to take a little bit more out. You don't want to make these adjustments. If you're making these adjustments, you don't want to make a lot. You want to make very subtle adjustments. Okay. Okay. Now I'm feeling a little tension. Because I'm feeling a little tension, this is a dual action truss rod. You're going to actually apply tension. You're going to pull tension this way as well. So I'm going to actually, you'll feel a little bit. If it doesn't turn, all right, you don't want to keep turning, but it's turning just fine, smoothly. It's just, it's a little firmer. That's okay. Now, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that now. I can always take a little more out, but I'm holding it there, and I got a little give. Just slide a piece of paper under there, a couple sheets of paper. That's all I'm looking for when I'm adjusting that truss rod. Okay. Now, the next thing I'll do, I'm in tune, and I want to check my space under my first fret here. That's going to be how much the nut is lifting that string up. Now, if I hold it down behind this second fret here, okay, I can measure how much gap I have here. Now, you can actually take that measurement. There's another way to measure if I'm looking at the tuner and I strike my E. If I fret here, I should get an F. And I am getting an F. So A. If I go 2 frets up, I should be at a B. That's a little sharp, actually. That means I might be a little high on that because I have to go further with the string to actually get to that B and the C. So if I'm at A, let me make sure that I'm in tune. That's pretty good. I'll leave it there. E, G, to my A. Good. B, C, D, E, so I'm happy with that. So those notes are all properly fretting, so I don't need to make any adjustments there. The next thing I'll look at is the action at the 12th fret. Let's take a look at that next. Okay, the last step, or second to last step, I'm going to measure at the 12th fret. So the 12th fret, you know you're at the 12th if you see the two dots here. Okay, some guitars you'll have different type of markings, but you'll have a unique marking that's at the 12th fret. That 12th fret signifies one octave. So if it's E here at the nut, it's also E here at the 12th fret. So there's two things that we use that 12th fret for. We make sure we're intonated, which means if I pluck the E string and it says E, and I also fret it here at E, that I get an E. Now before I do that, that adjustment is going to move this saddle this way, back and forth. I want to make sure that my action is good, because if the string is too high, I have to pull the string down quite a bit and it won't be intonated properly. So I'm going to measure that action now. So I leave it just like this. I'm going to use this Fret Guru string action gauge. You can also use any type of ruler as long as that ruler has a 0 edge, right? And I'm looking for 4/64 at the 12th fret. And right now I'm over 5. So I need to lower that on each one of these strings. That's where this small Allen key that came with the guitar comes in. I want to take these screws here on each saddle and I want to loosen these up equally. So there's 2 to each saddle. So I just went half, half. I want to keep it level. All right. I'm going to measure it again. Okay. So I like to use my Fret Guru. That's pretty close. Now each time I make this adjustment, I'm going to actually tune it. And I'm going to measure it again, because every time I make an adjustment, it's going to change the tuning. So I need to come down a little bit more. I'm going to give it just half a turn on each one, and I think we're going to be where we want to be. Okay. Now you don't have to be afraid of high action. Some people really don't like high action and they want it super, super low. That's fine too. There we go. I'm right at 4/64. I like that. That's where I prefer it. And I'm going to do that to each string. So I need to go down a little bit on each one. Okay. So now I'm where I want to be for action height. So I checked the nut, I adjusted the action, I adjusted the truss rod, all of those things. The last thing I want to do now is check the intonation. And that intonation is, again, making sure that I have an E here and an E on the 12th fret. Okay, so let me take a look at that. So I'm E, and I'm good. A, A, good. So my intonation is good. So that right there is fully set up. Now we can move on to taking some plastic off, I think. All right, let's get Lil Wolf in here. Let's tear off some plastic and then let's see how it plays. See you in a few. Okay, we're back. Now, before we start to pull all the plastic off of this thing and give it a test run, I want to make mention of one more thing. On your nut up here in these slots, one thing you can do to really help your strings stay in tune better over time, using a lead pencil. So take your lead pencil, which is graphite. We're gonna actually take that pencil, and inside I'm just gonna pull my string out, and I'm just gonna draw, kind of go back and forth and kind of chip some of that graphite in there, then put my string back on. I'll move the next one, kind of draw in there a little bit, and then usually just kind of go back and forth, get some in there. This graphite will actually act as a lube. You can buy lubricant. They have things like nut sauce and stuff like that. Funny name, but it works. It's basically doing the same thing as putting a lubricant into the nut here so that the strings don't stick. That's what we're looking for. So as we're tuning, bending, different things like that, and we're taking them in and out of pitch, that the string can actually move back and forth ever so slightly. So I just take my pencil, go back and forth, and I've got some graphite lead down in there, so graphite is down in there. You'll notice on every one of my guitars, you'll see black in those areas. That's because I've done the same thing. Okay, so that's kind of the last tip there. We're good there. Now we need to take some plastic off. So we'll start with the pickups.
Yeah. Gotta do it one side at a time, and when they meet up in the middle, you can just slide it out.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's satisfying.
Yeah.
This is the best part of any new guitar.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Okay, now we have a couple more areas of plastic. Okay, one is the back plate.
That has already been coming off.
A little bit, yep. So we can just pull that off. There's actually a little plastic on the back of the tuners. I actually never take that off. I don't know why.
Plastic is satisfying off.
So, do we want to take these off?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just... Oh, look, 2 layers. See? They're just little white pieces.
I want to do the rest.
The what?
The rest.
They have 2 layers.
Why?
I don't know.
Why do they need 2 layers? Trying to get both at once. Hey, I did it! I got both at once.
You know, believe it or not, there are 2 layers of plastic on this as well.
Ah, no, Dad.
Look at that.
No!
I'm just getting it started.
That sound. Okay.
Okay, did you get them all off?
Yeah.
All right,
Oh my.
let's get this flipped over again and then take layer number 2 off.
This is a harder layer.
Mm-hmm. Even more protection.
Oh wow, this is really hard. Just go nice and slow. And it's off.
All right, so we got that one off. Now, we got to get the pick guard off. Okay, now, little tip here for removing any of these knobs.
Whoa.
Get 2 picks, go
Can I do
underneath.
the volume?
Yep, and then just lift up on both. Wedge it under there, and then lift up on both sides. And it pops right off. That way you don't have to struggle trying to get those taken off. Okay? All right.
I'm going to start here if I can.
Yeah, let's see. Can you, well, I'm trying to get it started if we can get it.
There's a notch right here. Maybe that will help.
Yeah.
Kinda. There we go. Sometimes my least favorite part about this is sometimes it gets stuck in the nails, or screws I mean.
Okay. And then if you, just like the pickups, if you kind of pull it a little bit, get it to lift up like that, slowly, and then work the other side towards it.
Yep.
Come around here and work the other side.
Let's see if there's another notch
Let's
somewhere.
see here if I can. We're gonna end up probably having to loosen up these pots, the volume tone pots. That way we can get the plastic off. Let's see if we can get it started here for you.
There's another notch right here.
Here you go. Here. Get it right there.
Let me use this hand. I have a nail. Here comes the sticker. It makes it harder.
Alright, let's try to get this out. Let's get this right here. So that one's a little tough there. Try to get this right. Let's see how it's. There we go. Oh yeah, now it's coming along. Now we're getting it.
Yep. Most difficult one. So noisy. Oh my. It's getting stuck on everything.
Yep. So let's wait to get it around here. Let's keep working on this here. See if we can get that to come this way. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, what'll happen here? Let me show you. Give me a sec. What'll happen here is because these are placed over top of the plastic, you might run into where the plastic doesn't want to come off very well, and it tears. So give me a second. I'm gonna just tighten this up. Okay, and then I'm gonna loosen this one, because if you leave plastic underneath of these, it will drive you crazy with the plastic scratching the bottom of your.
Like this.
Yeah. All right. Got it? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right. So let's just snug that back up. All right. I want to make sure that's all snug.
It's not as shiny.
Snug.
Anymore.
Snug. Okay. Now, when we put the knobs back on, we have to make sure that we turn it all the way up, so it's a 10. Okay. And then we take our volume and we kind of line it up to where we want 10 to be. I kind of line it up right here on the pickup adjustment screw, and then I push that down. All right, so line it up, and before you press, give it a little, you'll feel it kind of fall into the notch. Yeah, just like that. And then press it down. There we go. There we go. Nice and smooth. Okay.
And this one? Like
Keep
here?
turning, you'll feel it drop into the, you don't have it in the center. Okay. Feel it, yep, and then just press it down. There we go.
That's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to
And then we
press
get that
down.
last little bit. So, okay. Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. We are all set. Okay. Now we've done a full setup. We've cleaned it up. We've pulled all the plastic off. Things ready to go. So, let me get this table out of the way. We'll plug it up. And then you tell me how it feels. So now. All right. Right back at you. Okay, we're back. So, we've got the table cleared away.
Yep.
We've got the Squier Debut all set up. Lil Wolf here is gonna give it a try, see how it feels. So last time we took it out and unboxed it and tested it, had a lot of sharp fret ends. Felt pretty good overall. Still sounded pretty good overall, but we put some new strings on it. I put a smaller gauge set of strings on it for you, so they're actually easier to fret and strum and do all those things. So let's test it out. I've got it plugged into the Spark amp. Play it that way. Just play these top 3 strings. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I definitely need to listen.
That's all right.
Yeah, this is easier too.
So let's take a look. Let's see. All right. So we got how did the frets feel?
Good. They felt smooth and they feel like they're not gonna rip my hands like they did to the styrofoam when we just got them.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're in the neck position. Okay, so we're in the neck position. Yeah. Way better. Nice and smooth. Action feels good. It's so lightweight. Yeah?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I like it and I'm gonna steal it.
Oh my gosh. So when we got this guitar, you were like, that's not my guitar. I have my own guitar. And now, I've lost the guitar.
My guitar.
So, I set it up for you. I set up with the right strings and all that for you. I think this is going to be a really good option. We're going to start doing some lessons. We're going to kick it off. You'll probably see a video out next week with some a basic crash course. We're going to go through all the strings, the names, tuning, different things like that, basic chords. We're going to hit a lot of stuff in one video. So can't wait to see that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be on this guitar. I'll probably be on my Strat.
Either this guitar or my full-on black guitar.
Yeah.
One of those.
Sounds good. All right. Wolf and Little Wolf. Out. Oh, hey, if you like it, please subscribe.
And we post almost every Saturday.
So Saturday or Sunday, right? You'll
Saturday or Sunday.
You'll probably see it come out on Sundays most of the time because we'll record on Saturday, try to post on Sunday, something like that. But
yeah.
Please, if you like this content, please like it, please subscribe, please hit the bell notification. We're going to make more videos. We'd love to have you along on the journey. Thank you. Wolf.
And Little Wolf.
Out.
How?
How?